So I was taking some pictures for the slideshow you're about to see while Wendy's singing, and when I was in the church earlier today, I came across a magical little sign that sums it all up. First Baptist Church was telling people to wash their hands before it was cool.
Please join me in the singing of Abide with Me. Abide with me, fast falls the eventide. The darkness deepens, Lord, with me abide. When other helpers fail and comforts flee, help of the helpless, oh, abide with me. Swift to its close, absorbed life's little day. Earth's joys grow dim, its glories pass away. Change and decay in all around I see. O thou who changest not, abide with me. I need thy presence every passing hour. What but thy grace can foil the tempter's power? Who like thyself my guide and stay can be? Through cloud and sunshine, Lord, abide with me. I fear no foe, with thee at hand to bless. Ills have no weight, and tears no bitterness. Where is death's sting? Where grave thy victory? I triumph still if thou abide with me. Hold thou thy cross before my closing eyes. Shine through the gloom and point me to the skies. Heaven's morning breaks and earth's faint shadows flee. In life, in death, O Lord, abide with me.
The Gospel reading for this Maundy Thursday comes to us from John chapter 13. I'll be reading portions of the 13th chapter of John. Now before the festival of the Passover, Jesus knew that his hour had come to depart from this world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going to God, got up from the table and took out his outer robe, tied it around himself, and then poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and wipe them with the towel that was tied around him. After he washed their feet, he put on his robe and returned to the table. He said to them, "Do you know what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for that is what I am. So if I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also must wash one another's feet. For I have set you an example, that you should do as I have done to you. Very truly I tell you, servants are not greater than their masters, nor are messengers greater than the one who sent them. If you know these things, you are blessed if you do them. Little children, I am with you only a little longer. You will look for me, and as I said to the Jews, I now say to you, where I am going you cannot come. I give you a new commandment, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you also should love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. So today is Maundy Thursday, and Maundy comes from the Latin word for commandment. And it's a strange thing to command anyone to love each other, but that's what the Gospel of John tells us Jesus told his disciples. He commanded them to love each other. But before telling them, and not just telling them from a place at the table, he showed them what it meant to love each other. He washed their feet. Now, this seems like a strange ritual to us, and we would probably hesitate and maybe decline the offer to have our feet washed or to wash someone else's feet, unless it was a family member or a person who was in peril, or we were a medical care professional who was doing it as a part of our job, or a home health aide, or someone working with others who couldn't do it for themselves. We've certainly, many of us who are parents, have washed our children's feet. Those of us who are children taking care of elderly parents perhaps have washed their feet. We have all washed our own feet, hopefully. But here Jesus is talking about a kind of hospitality. In the first century, when people came in from their travels on dusty roads wearing only sandals without socks, their feet were dirty and they needed to be cleaned before they came into a home. And usually it was the servant's job to wash the feet of those who came in. And so here Jesus takes on the role of a lowly servant, serving those to whom he was teacher and mentor, to whom he was the example of the living God. And then Jesus turns to them and asks them, commands them, in fact, to do the same. So what is it saying to us? What are we expected to do? What are we called on to do? What are we then commanded to do? It seems to me that we are being called, even commanded, to be as Jesus was, to never be above serving others, to never be above doing what seemingly is the most menial and least of tasks for others. We've all found ourselves in a situation where we had to swallow our pride and do what was very difficult to do. I've had many jobs in my life where I had to clean public toilets, and goes without saying that that's no fun at all. Not a job that people want to sign up for, but the necessity of it and the requirement of me keeping my job had me do it. Those times in which I have had to do things that I would rather not do, that I felt were beneath me or demeaning to me, I've had to remember that I have a calling on earth which does not render me as an insignificant individual. And even though I have done some pretty awful and dirty work in my life, it in no way makes me any less of a human than anyone else. Serving others and caring for others and doing that kind of work does not reduce or diminish our place, our position in the family of God. It seems to me that if Jesus can stoop to wash the feet of his own pupils, his students, his disciples, then you and I, whenever the chance arises, whenever the opportunity presents itself, can do so without fear of humiliation, even if we are ridiculed or condemned for doing so. We do so because we serve a loving God that calls us to be compassionate and caring and kind to others. Jesus also said in this passage that by this they will know that you are my followers, that you are Christians, if you have love for one another. That speaks true in every era of history, and certainly now. Christians are known or meant to be known or should be known must be known by love, not by what we believe or how loudly we proclaim that we are right, or how quick we are to condemn or to shame or to blame things like COVID-19 on others, claiming God's wrath. Those things don't make us Christians. The simple acts of kindness that are done because we have love for each other, according to this passage, is what makes us worthy to be called Christians. It seems a little backwards. It's not because of our knowledge or our position or our right opinions or our right attitudes or our right beliefs. All of those things may have a place and may have some importance along the way. But at the end of the road, we must be able to look back and say, I showed kindness when kindness was required, needed. Even if no one was looking, even if I was ridiculed for doing so, even if I got no thanks. Kindness, compassion, empathy, love. These are the strengths of the followers of Jesus. Not easy. Trying to do these things may, from time to time, maybe even more often than not, result in not doing what we can look back and say was our best. But we serve a God who loves and forgives and surrounds us with grace. And that is the good news. And therein, we cannot fail. For in the trying is the succeeding, and God is our strength each step of the way. So in this time of isolation and aloneness, where we so miss our friends, we miss our hugs, we miss our smiling faces, reflected back in us in the loving faces of our friends and our family. Dear friends, take heart in knowing that whatever smallest act of kindness that you are capable of and that you choose to do, therein you are the shining light of Jesus on this Maundy Thursday, throughout this Holy Week, and the days, weeks, and lifetime that we live. May peace be with you, and may you be surrounded with God's love. Amen.